Start. You don't get it. So, hey everybody, we definitely should be live now. Welcome to Hear Us Out. I am Patrick,
And I am Paul. Hey, how's it going?
and we're very, very excited because we're full of adrenaline of another crash at 7:57, just when we're about to hit go live. So,
It's an amazing,
yeah.
it's an amazing thing.
So bear with us when it comes to any graphics that we would have been using, since they were all configured before, and now because of the crash and the close, you're pretty much going to be looking at most of our faces, unless I can pull some stuff together while Paul is talking. So if I look like I'm
Yeah, but
ignoring Paul, it's because I am.
yeah, but come on. I think I can end up talking a lot. You
I
know
hope
me
so.
well enough.
Yeah, well, that's why we do this. We're good talkers. So, Paul, speaking of talking, tell the ladies and gentlemen at home what they can expect from us tonight.
Yes. So, we should tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of a difference. Last time we did some, or last time we talked about why we watch movies, and then the previous to that had a little bit of news. We're going to do a little bit of news, and then we're going to do the Space Force review that we talked about. So, which is it's going to be great. Um, while Patrick is which is trying to configure some of the stuff there, which goes, we'll be going through some of the stories that have come up recently, which we're really excited about, and also some of the stories that we've already talked about, and just giving you an update, which is from there. So that's going to be leading into our first story, which I'm going to lead off on,
And
which goes, Patrick, do you get?
what's that going to be about? Because I may well be able to pull that up as a page. You never know.
So that is the return of Henry Cavill to Superman. We talked about him about 2 weeks ago. That which was he's in negotiations for returning to the DCU as Clark Kent slash Superman. We can. There has been confirmations on the fact that he will be returning to the DC universe, which is I think that was about a week ago or so, which is great news.
Yeah, but
Uh,
the story inside the story here, though, Paul, because now that I'm actually back in the game, luckily, hopefully, you'll be able to see on our stream that we actually have a picture of Superman played by the beautiful Henry Cavill, that statuesque dude. Key thing here is the bit that caught me about the story is we all knew Cavill was coming back. He has to be Superman for a while longer because there's no one better to replace him. And no matter how well his career is going with Mission Impossible and The Witcher, it's very, very hard to walk away from Superman. But it looks
it
like he's
is,
not
yeah.
getting the solo movie.
No,
So
yeah, I've heard about that.
he's going to be ensemble cast till they can kind of get the public's juices going again for a little bit of Man of Steel.
Yeah, I think so. Which I understand in the sense that they've kind of maybe mishandled Superman for the last while, and until probably a good like script comes along for a new kind of movie, new solo movie for which is the Henry Cavill Superman. They probably won't. It's better for him to be in with other cast members and stuff like that, bouncing stuff off people and stuff, so they can get a feel of the character a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm because I know we've got a lot to cover. So I know you're trying to keep us on time and keep us moving.
New solo movie.
Well, I am now accidentally playing us back to ourselves there.
Huh.
That's weird. My monitor
Um,
to check the live stream started playing audio.
yeah.
Crucially, though, what I was trying to say before I rudely interrupted myself with ourselves is where is he going to appear in your guess? Because my guess is somewhere around the Shazam. They're going to have to bring in The Rock as Black Adam at some stage. Shazam's getting a second movie. It didn't blow the world away, but in hindsight, everybody's realized that maybe it's one of the better DC movies.
Yeah.
Is that where he's likely to be?
Well, because he was in the first one as a cameo, it does make sense in kind of having him come in, because I do know there is a story with Superman and Shazam fighting Black Adam, and him trying to help Shazam kind of like maybe not go to the extent that Black Adam does, which is good. So yeah, I say that he's probably going to be coming in there.
Okay.
I can't see him coming anywhere else.
Well, the good news is I was a big fan of Shazam. Good news for Henry Cavill is Shazam was the first sign that the studio may be playing very hardball with him, because that Superman cameo, spoiler everybody, it wasn't actually Henry Cavill because you couldn't see his face. They shot him neck down, as a really good way to send a message to Henry Cavill and his agent of other people can fit in this suit too. And it seems to have worked. So good job.
Yeah.
So what's up next?
So the next thing we have is Matrix 4, which was Keanu Reeves and which was, oh my god, my brain's just completely stopped.
It's all right. You'll see when the live stream hits you that the page that I've pulled up has now thrown up a video error on it also. So the technical problems with my machine do seem to continue. Hopefully the world can actually see us.
Anyway, which goes Henry Cavill and which goes Carrie-Anne Moss, which is that's the name. They have been talking about the new scripts for Matrix 4 with the Wozniak sisters.
The Wachowskis, yeah.
Wachowski, sorry. Well, Wozniak, where's that coming from?
You're thinking Steve Wozniak.
Wachowskis. Yes, sorry. Not Steve Wozniak. Is it Steve Wozniak?
Oh, no, he's a great...
From Apple?
Yeah. The Woz is a great man. And it's Steve Jobs. And oh my God, now we've got all the names. Anyway, the Wachowskis... who were behind the original Matrices. Matrices? Matrix is?
Matrices.
Yeah, the Matrices. The Matrixes. Are you excited for the idea of a fourth one, or do you feel that this could be just, one more step in the wrong direction, or is this the chance to have a resurrection a la Neo?
They can't do any more damage than they've already done, is in my opinion.
I would agree.
I guess the only thing that if they went to the extent of what is it called, Jupiter Ascending,
which I still haven't watched. I am threatening to do it some one of these days because you've told me just how farcical it is. I
hate Andy Redmayne and his volume control problems in that movie are just ridiculous. But it's a very complex script storyline that isn't well overly told. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit convoluted and kind of packed. It feels like they put 3 films into one. So with the Matrix, I'd be interested to see where they're going to go with it, because I felt like it was all tied off in a neat little bow kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'd kind of agree with you that they did an awful lot of the damage in the second and the third film. For me, I know a lot of people want to defend those movies in hindsight, but having lived through them come out as they did, it was a definite drop off for me. I know, look, there are people with different opinions, and I respect that. I think I'm excited for the idea of a Matrix 4 because the Matrix is one of those things, if you just take the premise and maybe move away from some of their lore, you can tell a new story while still paying respect to the first 3 films. So if they do that, and the Wachowskis have, they've hits and they have misses, I think they're due a hit with this. Obviously, they work really well with Keanu and Carrie-Anne. Lawrence Fishburne, I'm assuming, would be able to make a comeback because it's the Matrix, even if he wasn't himself, kind of.
Well, he didn't die.
No.
So,
but if
it's been so long since I watched it,
it depends what kind of reimagining they do, I suppose.
Well, I guess because they're going to have probably the character Trinity back, and more likely kind of either memories or flashbacks or some kind of quests to find Neo or something like that. Like having Lawrence Fishburne maybe drop in, and some of the other characters that they had as well. I would like to see a return in some form or another of Agent Smith.
That would be nice. That would be nice, because Hugo Weaving was a huge, huge, huge part of the success of the first film and all 3 films, consequently.
Yeah, so I'd like to see some kind of, even if it is just he's a ghost, it's remnants of his programming are still haunting Neo wherever the hell he is or whatever the hell they're doing.
He's broken code knocking around. Well, yeah, and so I'm going to give it the 2 thumbs up to the idea of doing another Matrix. Usually I'm against sequels, but to borrow from you, I don't think it can get any worse. So,
yeah.
In the spirit of sequels, though, here's one that I do not think can do any harm, because I don't think he can harm this franchise. New trailer out yesterday, I believe, or the day before. Bill and Ted Face the Music. So Bill and Ted 3, for anybody who's counting. It started off with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, then it went on to their bogus journey, and now they're going to face the music. Bill and Ted are older.
Yes.
they've got to go and fulfill the promise that they'd made to unify the world through one great song.
Yeah, which is going to be real interesting to see how this plays out, because this has been a build for two movies, and then on top of that, just a build for the series, for the franchise.
Oh, but like
So it's going to be apps.
how many years have they been talking now about? It's got to be at least 8 years of oh, we'll probably do another Bill and Ted, and like it's great because both the lead actors are, you know, playing themselves, playing them, you know, being older. But Keanu's obviously still going to lean back into his, whoa, you know, Keanu-ness that he spent his entire career trying to move away from. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be sweet, if nothing else.
I think it'll be good. Like, it'll be nice. I think it'll be a nice thing to look forward to in the wake of returning back to cinemas and stuff like that. Because I know that it's a trailer and stuff like that. I'm hoping that they will do a trailer or like a cinema release to this.
Oh no, it's definitely cinema release. They're planning. They say summer 2020, which I think they're thinking August. That depends on how, because Tenet. I still don't know how they want that pronounced. Tenet, the Christopher Nolan film, is going to be the opening cinemas movie. Unless anything goes wrong there, I think we're going to definitely see Bill and Ted before the summer technically is over, so August.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
I'd love that.
I'm happy with this.
Yeah,
it's going to be great then.
It's a good return to cinema movie, because Bill and Ted movies in general, they're feel good movies. They're not. It's not War and Peace. It's Bill and Ted. I want that on a t-shirt. Hey, what up next?
Put it on the list. So the next is the Evil Dead, which because Bruce Campbell has announced a director, I believe. Am I wrong in that?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
an Irish
director.
Amazingly enough.
Oh,
yeah,
completely. Oh, yeah. Which is so I'm really excited. I'm really excited about Evil Dead returning and stuff like that. I really like the series, Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is on Netflix. I believe it might be gone from Netflix actually.
Well, I hope it's not, because I never got round to it, and I'm really hoping to watch that at some stage.
Bruce said Wild Stallions. I just want to have to do the mime. Should we do the mime?
Oh, the be excellent to each of the moment. Wild Stallions. That's Paul Theodore Logan, and I'm Patrick S. Preston Esquire. I was a huge Bill and Ted fan, and their adventure really was excellent. For some reason, the chat isn't showing up for me on the other device I have here, so I'm going to have to rely on you, Paul, to call people out.
No worries. Brew said 4 Stop the Madness, which is to refer to The Matrix. Yeah, I get it, Brew, but as I said, they can't destroy that series any more than they did. So, like, hopefully it's up from here, or it will just be another failure and we can all just be like, all right, stop.
And
but on to Evil Dead.
Yeah, and this is going to be another Evil. Like, I don't even know how many Evil Dead technically there will be now, if you know what I mean. Because this will be, you know, let's see.
It'd be 5th one.
It would be the 5th.
Because they had the original one, then they had the remake one.
Yeah, which was called 2,
then
but
they
had
had
a remake.
Yeah, then they had Army of Darkness,
which is 3.
Then they had that like updated version of it, recent enough,
like 2013, 2014 Evil Dead thing. Yeah, which I haven't seen, by the way. That's one of the Evil Deads I haven't seen.
And then Ash versus Evil Dead, which is the TV series, which had 2 to 3 seasons. I think it only had 2 seasons. No, it had 3 seasons. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Question for you, because we're burying the lead a little bit. Even though Bruce Campbell is the one talking about Evil Dead, Bruce is not going to be in whatever they make next.
Yeah, they kind of want to break it away and make it its own story. So that's a kind of interesting one. I think it'll be a refreshing. I really like Bruce Campbell, really like the Ash that he plays and stuff like that. But I do believe that there's a freshness that needs to be brought into.
For sure. I'd agree with that. I will say the man is just a gigantic bag of charisma. He's, him and Nathan Fillion and people like that have the ability to just be universally loved. So I hope this doesn't mean that he's like, I'm now not going to be acting. I hope he's still going to do his random gigs. You know, he'll show up as Elvis in another Bubba Hotep or something. I don't know. Bruce Campbell is awesome.
Like I hope he plays a cameo in this, like in this movie in some form,
That would
as
be
like
nice.
a guide, or like I'm sure that they can get him in. The is Lee Cronin is the
The
director and writer.
Yeah, from the Hole in the
Um,
Ground, the Irish horror film from last year, which I kept calling the hole out the back. If you look at our old videos, I think I didn't get it right once. I kept saying the hole out the back, and then you would have to correct me to go, no, it's hole in the ground. But yeah, so it looks like that springboarded him to success, and I think Raimi handpicked him. And if
that's good.
Raimi thinks you're good, you're good.
Yeah, well, Sam Raimi kind of built that series, so
Yeah,
it's gonna be good to see if how he does in that role. And
yeah,
it's as long as they're doing Evil Dead in the sense of Bruce, like Ash's Evil Dead, and not trying to do the whole like extra horror movie esque.
yeah,
Like I don't mind if they want to try bring it back to a little bit of a horror story, but as long as it still has the kind of like charm.
yeah. And I think
So
to continue with our theme now, everybody out there watching, please keep your comments coming in. Thank you very much for your feedback. Hit your likes and your subscribes and comments down below, yada, yada, yada. But one of the things you'll
mhm.
notice about all the news stories that we're covering at the top of the show, there's a lot of sequels and follow-ups and extensions of things. The next story is the one that has me most on the edge of my seat to kind of go, oh, enough is enough. I don't know if I'm going to be able to say it's gone as low as it can go, because I fear the worst. Ridley Scott has come out and said that the Alien franchise could be, you know, there's life left in it yet, and there's more stories to tell. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah.
Because I think everybody knows my feelings on this if you've even watched 10 minutes of the channel.
I think it depends on how they handle it. Like, are they going to go back to form in the sense of are they trying to tell the story of the evolution of the aliens kind of thing, or are they just going to do the whole aliens versus humans thing and try to bring it back to horror esque kind of like I'll be honest with you. Prometheus was not scary in any kind of way. There was no hidden things. There was no terrifying. There was nothing scary about it.
I think it
It
was
was
bad enough
just
that it scared me a little bit because I have a particular dislike for Prometheus. Um,
yeah, it's bad. Like
yeah,
it's a bad like it's not a bad sci-fi film. It's a bad alien film. Like
yeah, it's
no,
definitely a
if you
bad
were
alien film. To be fair, that's true.
yeah, like if you were to take it out and have humans just going to a planet that they found or that they might find the thing or the creators of humanity and stuff like that, and it turns out that they actually didn't want us, so they tried to kill us, and then the weapon is there. What you could go from that point
Yeah,
and then move on, not towards the alien stuff. Like some of the crew really want the weapon
yeah,
because they're evil corporation people, or and then the other people are trying to destroy it. You could have that, just that, and not have aliens at all. It could literally just be a giant ray gun or something, and it would be an interesting
that's
sci-fi story.
that's
When
true.
you introduce xenomorphs into us and try to put like the evolution of the xenomorphs and stuff like that, this is where you lose us.
Well, rule number one, and I just want to shout out again. Brew says Ridley Scott, stop the madness. Brew couldn't agree with you more. Particularly because everybody knows Alien franchise is so close to our hearts. But Paul being a horror guy and me being an Alien franchise guy, we have a nice crossover there because I think the original Alien in particular was it was technically horror. It was, a thriller is just a horror in another word. Here's the thing. Ever since that movie, it got better and better as they went forward up until maybe the fourth one, but that's a whole other conversation. Because they moved forward. And it's not just they moved forward with the Ripley character. It started going wrong when they did the thing of explaining. Let's go back. Let's go back and explain an origin. You know what the scariest thing about just about anything is? Not knowing where it came from or what created it. The intrigue, the
Yeah.
mystery, that didn't need to be described. And from what I'm reading about what Ridley Scott is saying, when he says there's still meat on the bone, he's saying, well, you could have a time between Alien Covenant and the first Alien film about, why these guys would be transporting this biological weapon, yada, yada, yada. Stop going backwards. If you want to do something with the Alien franchise, go forward. Go way forward. Guess what? You're doing sci-fi. There is no limit to how far forward you can go. I'm a hard no on this one.
I'm saying the same in the kind of sense if you're trying to explain the evolution of the xenomorphs, right, so leading up to the point of Alien, the first one, what are you doing? Why? Like, it as you said, it's a lot more scary in the fact that we don't know where they came from. They were just in a ship on Fury something. No, that's the third one.
LZ427 or whatever it is. LT427.
Yes. It's scary enough that they're just in a ship. That's it. It's just don't know why they're there, don't know anything about it, what the hell's going on, kind of thing. And then just moving forward in the sense that this is a problem for the human race, in the sense that these things are absolutely deadly and born to destroy everything that they come in contact with. Then the fourth one's where it goes downhill, because I definitely agree the fourth one goes downhill, and it's because that they start trying to show the evolution of the aliens, and then Prometheus just shows that again, and then Covenant replays that as well. Like, Covenant was a little bit, I'll be honest with you, Covenant was a little bit better.
I agree, but
it's because the real turns out that one of the other horror monster parts was David, which is nice. But we've always known that the machine.
Yeah, no, go on. I agree. I didn't have a problem with I actually kind of liked where they were going with some of that. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, they definitely were moving in the right direction a little bit again, but it was too little, too late, and the execution was sloppy. So
yeah, once you had David as essentially the father of the xenomorph race that we know as. That's where I have a problem. It's completely ridiculous. Like, don't have some kind of weird engineer ever.
They tied that up a little bit too tight. I love that, where somebody in a writer's room is going, you know what, this is awesome. Look what I did here. Bing. And you're like, yeah, that feels really clever. But when we all watch it, we're going to go, the best thing about The Quiet Place? At no point in The Quiet Place did they go, here's exactly where whatever those creatures came from, and here's exactly why they came from there. And my big worry is that, much like Alien and then Aliens and Alien 3, Quiet Place 2 could try and explain too many things, and we could be talking about in a few years' time the Quiet Place franchise the way we're talking about the Alien franchise now. That's my worry. The incessant need to explain where stuff came from and make it look like clever writing. Yeah, but hey,
I agree there.
Do we want to move on, or do you want to give out a little bit more about? Because Ridley Scott, you can do what you want. Massive respect for you, man. But I'm probably going to catch this one on TV.
Yeah, I want to see. I won't go too on. I would have preferred to see the Neil Blomkamp. I know we've talked about it before, the Neil Blomkamp version of Alien 3, just to see how it would have. I would have loved jumped to the other universe, the other parallel universe where he got that, and just to see what it was like, and to see if the Prometheus or Covenant ever did take off. But we're not in that timeline.
And I don't want to type too loudly, otherwise I'd be pulling up. The reason that we all want the Neil Blomkamp version is very simple. Two things. It's District 9, and it's the sketches and kind of the production drawings that were done that obviously you could see from 50 million miles away captured the essence and captured that's why we're all like, oh, it would have been great. We don't really know that much about the movie, and we're all going, it would have been great. It's because when somebody gets it, you can kind of see it straight away. I don't know if Ridley gets it anymore.
Yeah, it's Neil Blomkamp's idea of the film was to continue on the story with Noose, Hicks, and Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been great. Whereas it was just Ripley, and they were just like, oh, she's dead, Newt's dead, Hicks is dead, Bishop is crashed. Blah 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 blah.
Well, before we go into the downward spiral, everybody out there watching, good news. We're about to move on to the second phase of the show tonight because we're now talking about stuff that has nothing to do with sequels. And in fact,
Yes.
everything we're about to talk about will be in the links down below, which I didn't get to do before the show. There'll be links to all of these trailers because there is a new trailer for Charlize Theron is dipping her toe back in the water of basically comic graphic novel properties. But this time it's one that's a bit more obscure. It's called Old Guard.
Yeah, like it looks really, really good just from the trailer, which is I can't wait for it. Always love Charisse, like
I wish she's great.
Theron. She's so good, so
She
good.
is.
Like,
And if she's going to do this, she doesn't tend to throw her time at useless things. Okay, she's had a few wobbles here and there, but even her bad films have been, the mediocre ones, not the terribles. And the quick synopsis on this thing is, and don't worry, still watch the teaser trailer, it's still good. It's not superheroes that can fly around, it's none of that sort of thing. This is what happens if you have an immortal, not race so much, but just a group of people. I think there's like 5 or 6 people who are immortal, and they've sort of banded together. And as the trailer kind of covers, some decades and centuries they're seen as the good guys, some decades and centuries they're seen as the bad guys. I like that premise. I like the idea of, well, what would you do if you were immortal and decided to get some skin in the game and maybe get involved with shaping history? So I'm into it. Like it's a good enough trailer, but I think it's a very good premise.
yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in like I don't know actually. This is the one time that I don't know actually the graphic novel in any way. I
Oh
will
yeah.
probably be reading it the before it, but
Hmm.
which is yeah. Has my so
We've still got you. I can still hear you and see you.
Okay, so yeah, I'm interested because I haven't read the comic or the graphic novel. Probably going to read it, which is, but yeah, I am interested to see how the immortality works because immortality technically is just that you can't die from disease or from time,
Oh well,
like
this
you
is
can't
definitely
age.
a bit more than that because they can get shot to hell and
Yeah,
come back. So they're
yeah,
regenerative immortals.
yeah. So I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing what's the thing there kind of thing because like the whole idea was that invincible. If you were ever getting wishes, you would want to be invincible and immortal, because invincibility means that you can't be killed by injury, and immortal means that you can't be killed by disease or time.
See, this is the sort of thing that scarily we've all spent too much time secretly thinking about when we're either stuck in traffic or doing something else. But yeah, I can say I don't know because I haven't read the source material either, and I'll be honest, I probably won't. So you'll go in knowing, I'll go in not knowing, and it'll be interesting to see how we both feel.
Yeah,
But it doesn't look like it's vampires. That's all I can say. It doesn't look like it's anything vampiric. Which, hey,
yeah,
bonus for me. I think it's very easy to say, you know what I'm going to use as one of the premises or one of the staples from my story, that the couple of main characters can't die. And the challenge of immortality is an interesting one. Many, many movies have been made about it. Very few of those movies have just completely avoided using vampire or other as their reasoning. So I hope this one's a bit more creative than that.
yeah. Like, see, there's a mythology kind of vampires that was created semi by the underworld and by the underworld series,
Mm.
and also has been a long running kind of thing. The sense that there was immortals around, and one of them was bitten by a vampire or by a bat, which created the vampire race, and one was bitten by a wolf, which created the werewolf thing. So that's partly from underworld and partly from mythology.
And
So
ladies and
like
gentlemen, Paul just gave you so much underworld in about 30 seconds because I was just thinking, that really does actually explain 75% of the story that franchise took 3 or 4 movies to tell. So good
yeah.
job. Good job.
Um,
So onto other monsters though, or monsters. Um, I know I'm going to leave this next one up to you because this is one of Paul's passion pieces. It came up in a previous video, which we will link up above in future, uh, when we talked about what may replace Game of Thrones, and that was Paul.
yeah. So this was Lovecraft Country, which was one of the series, as we said, that might take over from the fantasy kind of genre that, or the fantasy gap that was left by Game of Thrones. This is Jordan Peele and which was Jordan Peele and
J.J.
J.J.
Abrams.
Abrams. This is so it's HBO Max or HBO Now. HBO Max. HBO Max.
HBO Max.
They're the ones who are going to be doing this. I'm really excited for it because it's a kind of Jordan Peele is becoming closely my second favorite director. Very hard to move Del Toro off the podium, but Jordan Peele's kind of like Us and Get Out is becoming fantastic. I haven't watched any of his Twilight Zone episodes. I really do want to. But essentially, this it's a new trailer that came out, a new teaser trailer. It's essentially that an African American is traveling across America in the 50s looking for his father, but there's some other stuff about kind of like there might be some legacy of their family. I really enjoyed the fact that their family is also called, their second name is called, or their last name is called Black, and like they're an African American family. It's a really good kind of like and then they might have a dark past. It's all foreboding kind of like legacy stuff, which I'm really interested in. I can't wait. And as I said, Jordan Peele has been just phenomenal with his writing. He's one of the creators of it. So I can't wait to see how this works.
Well, I'm trying to pull some stuff up on screen. The one thing I can say from watching the trailers, again, Paul is the expert in the Lovecraft Country. Because you have read the source material that this is all going to be based on, right?
I've read a fair amount of it, kind of stuff. I believe that one of the things that will be coming up, I think, is the book is called Black Tom, which is about a musician who kind of stumbles into the H.P. Lovecraft or the Cthulhu mythology kind of world. If you haven't read H.P. Lovecraft, I don't think you're going to be out of the loop in any way. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. The best way to describe it is it's going to be another supernatural-esque kind of like show, or like Stranger Things or American Horror Story. It's going to be like, the family are going to be traveling across America to try to find the father, what happened to him, and strange things are going to come out, and there's going to be history learned about their family and stuff like that, which is going to be very amazing. I can't wait. I'll
be honest with you, I wouldn't have paid any attention necessarily, other than I do the show with you, so it hit my radar pretty quick. But when I watched the teaser yesterday, or the trailer, because it's the second trailer, so I've seen both trailers now. The thing that hit me was, yes, this looks like a more adult and socially commenting Stranger Things. Now, the other thing I can say is it does look much more my speed also. This doesn't look like it's just going to be creature feature, monster of the week stuff. It looks like it's actually going to have a little bit of bite to it and be quite good. The actors that I recognize now, will be completely honest, I didn't really look people up, and I should have, but two people stood out, which is Journey, I think her name is, Smollett. Everybody has heard of her brother because he had some issues last year or the year before. But the reason that I recognized her is I recently saw her in Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie. She played Canary, so she was very, very good. She stood out. That's why I now recognize her straight away. I think I'd pick her face out of a crowd pretty quickly because she was really, really quite good. Her and Mary Elizabeth Winstead kind of stole that film a little bit for me, which is hard to do when Margot Robbie's knocking around.
That's very true.
Yeah. And Courtney B Vance, an actor you've seen in so many movies and so many TV shows. He's slightly older now, I guess, because he's got to have a good 20 years on me. So it looks like he's going to be playing one of the older, kind of wiser, maybe a little bit kind of guiding narrative foreboding figures. So I'm looking forward. He's always very, very good. Looks like they've got big hitters in the cast. They've definitely got big hitters behind the scenes because HBO Max, throwing money everywhere, getting your J.J. Abrams on board. But to have Jordan Peele, as you point out, the man of the moment, helming something that looks like it's perfect for him, I don't see how this can be a loser. I don't see how this can, not hit pretty well.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be. It should be really well written. I know Jan Dimanshi, I can't pronounce Dimanshi, is
Like,
going to be directing one of the episodes.
okay,
He is the director who did Dead Set from Charlie Brooker's. Charlie Brooker's Dead Set, the whole Big Brother zombie
yes,
film
yeah,
or
which I
zombie
didn't
series.
actually watch. Again, Paul's area of
Very, very
expertise.
good, but very, very good. But he directed Dead Set. He's going to be directing the pilot and a couple of the other episodes.
Cool.
I don't I don't know if Jordan Peele is going to be directing any episodes. I hope he is, but he is one of the creators of it. Jonathan, I think it's Jonathan Majors. He's going to be playing, I think, one of the main characters. I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not going to even try the name of the character.
Don't even bother. It's not going to mean anything to anybody anyway until we see it.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors, if I've got it, the name is. He was in Captive State, that film about the world being taken over by aliens. It had John Goodman in it, I think. John Goodman.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
and
something's ringing a bell there.
it's about aliens taking over the world. John Goodman is kind of like their human ambassador kind of thing, and then there's some kind of rise of a rebellion against them where it's happened before.
Well,
The
now
rebellion has
we've
happened
got to
before.
cover that one in a different episode because that sounds interesting, and I really don't think I've seen it. Because the thing I was thinking of might have Forrest Whitaker in it, but let's not get confused in front of the people who think that we know everything or can actually just already tell that we know nothing. But that's how you get on
Um,
YouTube, folks. The ability to just pretend. So let's pretend like Lovecraft Country is not far away because I actually don't think it is too far away. It's August, I think, maybe end of next month, start of August on HBO Max, which means, oh God, I wish we could get our hands on HBO Max because they're adding more and more and more things that we want to see. We've done our whole streaming wars kind of series on this channel. HBO Max coming out of the gate swinging, and they're just piling kind of interesting hit after interesting hit. They're landing blows.
it it's getting harder and harder not to be like, all right, but fine, I'm going to buy a VPN and just ghost my IP so I can get
Yeah.
a HBO Max account and stuff like that. Like
Well,
HBO Max, if you ever do somehow stumble upon our channel, get it into Ireland in some way, you're going to have a load of people.
yeah, it's
Like,
the fight with Sky Atlantic for us. I think it's about existing contracts. I'm just hoping that they're smart enough not to renew anything so that we can get our money in their pockets because that's what it's about. Take my money. Now, on to the last thing before we actually go and talk about the little review that we're going to do, and that is Brew. I know you're listening because you were commenting away. I believe you're a Will Ferrell fan. Will Ferrell has done so many spoof style movies. He's done the Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, which is a NASCAR spoof. The Anchorman series, which is obviously period correct Anchorman-y type stuff. And now he's doing Eurovision and the Song of Ice and Fire and something or whatever the story of
the Fire Saga.
Fire Saga. This trailer dropped today, the second kind of bit of promo they have for it, because they already released a song last month, I think it was, which is from the fictional band that he is in with the person whose name that Paul's going to look up because I've forgotten and I'll keep talking, Paul. I really like that actress too. She was in Mean Girls. That was her really, really big break. Notebook. I want to say McAdams. Rachel McAdams, thank you. Nobody told me that. I actually just channeled that from my own mind. Rachel
Well
McAdams,
done.
Will Ferrell are Icelanders. They're Icelandic, and they're being the very traditional, campy, crappy Eurovision band. But it looks like the people of Iceland are actually kind of ashamed of them, which also, and sorry for anybody who's represented Ireland, your country usually is a little bit ashamed of you, but in a kind of a proudy way, just if that makes you feel any better. So it looks like they're really going after Eurovision and all of its associated campy fun. And if I had to think of something that was perfect for Will Ferrell, that's it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know as much about this story because you kind of
I
put me onto
foisted
the
on him
trailer
just before the
today.
show. Yeah, sorry.
I watched the trailer. Will Smith is, or not Will Smith, Will Ferrell is a bit of a hit and miss with me. Um, so I'm like, I'm gonna be interested in this and see how it goes. But yeah, he's a bit of a hit and miss with me.
I hear
So
you. Well, I'm hoping that it's an Anchorman and not a, what was the really bad one? The replacement guys, the new guys. It was the cop one he did with
the other
Mark
guys,
Wahlberg. The other guys.
yeah,
Yeah, it didn't work out too good. Well, yeah, so there you go, folks. Check out those links that will appear in the description below by the time other people that are not watching this live see this video. We were almost prepared this week. I would love people in the comments to throw out anything they feel about anything we've said so far. But right now, Paul, let's close the show out with what we planned on doing this week, which we're now still going to do before all that news came up. And that is, we have both seen Netflix's Spaceforce.
yes. Sorry, I was just reading a comment there suddenly. Yes, I'm really. Yeah, it came out about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So everybody, just to tell you, there'll be tiny bits of spoilers, but nothing too much. There's not too many spoilery things that can really happen in this. But yeah, like there's I know there's a couple of things that can be, but it's mostly about the characters.
Gentle spoilers ahead. Gentle spoilers ahead. Well, I'll tell you what, Paul. I will go first. I'm going to give the very quick, for anybody who hasn't seen it. If you have seen it, would love to hear from you. But if you haven't seen it, if you've seen Steve Carell in what we call the American Office, or what people in America call The Office, an American workplace, which was based originally on the whole Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant thing. But this is Greg Daniels, the guy who really made the American Office work when they moved away from the original Gervais Merchant scripts. It's him and Carell together again, which is, I was very excited because when they work together, it seems to go really, really well. But I was extra excited because the premise is Steve Carell is an Air Force 4-star general who's about to get what he thinks is the promotion of his career. It's going to make him, he thinks he's going to be made head honcho. Unfortunately, the president in this fictional world has come up with a thing called Spaceforce. No coincidence that the president in our real world has also come up with a thing called Spaceforce. So he gets thrown in charge of that, and it changes the direction of his life. And the story is essentially him and the cast of oddballs trying to make Spaceforce work or be a thing. The principal cast is just stacked with great people. John Malkovich and Steve Carell are in this thing, everybody. That's right. John Malkovich is in this, and he's not the top billed star. That's how good the cast is.
It's an interesting premise to kind of slag some people. There's also an interesting story, a part of the whole Space Force thing. It's an interesting series. Kind of leveling on the jokey kind of side of things. Cast, as you said, is amazing. What did you think? Because I'm trying to be delicate in the sense that I may have hinted at what.
Well, if you're worried about the political ramifications of it, I think it is very level and fair to both sides of the political aisle. It doesn't spend its entire time thumping on Republicans or making Democrats look weak, any of those things. It walks that line brilliantly and gets away from all that kind of stuff, especially because they choose not to have a president as an on-screen character, which is a good idea. It's more about the internal bureaucracy, and the main character, he really does live his military background. His life is the Air Force. And you get a real sense of the respect that deserves, but also they don't mock it by him being a vulnerable character. I think it's done very, very, very well in that respect. But then with John Malkovich representing scientists and non-military and non-government people, their relationship is key, and I cannot stress this enough. The reason I give Space Force thumbs up is because it is riddled with problems. But their relationship and how it's played alone makes this show worth watching.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Sorry, yeah, I wasn't referring to the political things. I do
Oh,
think that they do drew, like they slag off the president, whichever fictional president that might be at the time or not, which I have no problem with. They do represent the Republicans and the Democrats quite well, except for one group of the Republican Party, um, which is the Tea part, the Republican Tea Party. Um, they do not come out well in this because that's the judge or the congressman who keeps saying the latter.
yeah. And again,
He's
they're
the only one.
they're good. You know, they're good about it. I don't think it doesn't pick sides hugely, but it shouldn't, because the story that they're trying to tell, and I think what they're really trying to get across, is the majesty and amazing achievement that going to space is, the importance and the seriousness that a government and military are, but then the crossover that all of these things are achieved, run, and administered by people, and people have their own weaknesses, as is makes all the best stories. So Carell's character and Malkovich's character do that great, unlikely friendship, begrudging respect, learning from each other, giving and taking, and that's where the show's at its best. Now, where is the show at its worst? Is unfortunately everywhere that they try and be funny. They actually try and have some comic relief kind of characters, and I feel really bad for Ben Schwartzman or Schwartz. He's the guy that does the thing with Thomas Middleditch. He's the improv guy on Netflix. From Parks and Rec is where I would have known him from. He is a great and funny guy, but his character as a press secretary is really just
Oh,
comic relief.
yeah, the social media guy.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
social media
totally.
manager, and they're going for cheap laughs and cheap jokes. Usually
Yeah.
when they don't need to, because they've already got you laughing while holding your heart a little bit, and it sort of took me out of it.
No, yeah, no, see, I definitely agree. I was only saying that because there's plenty with the party political stuff. It's just there is one group that gets kind of slagged. The rest of them are very well handled. But I do agree. The relationship between John Malkovich and Steve Carell's characters are is some of the best stuff there. I would also say that the relationship between God, I'm so
Is
bad
it
with names
Jimmy O
today.
Yang,
Yes,
the scientist and the who becomes a spaceman, to use their terminology? Yeah, the character who plays
yeah,
the helicopter pilot. Unfortunately, I can't remember that actress's name, but she is great. She knocks it out of the park. And put her together
yeah.
with Jimmy O Yang, that car trip, awesome.
Their relationship is is another best kind of seller in the series. Um, the as you said, the downfalls and kind of things are kind of like where slapstick or forced comedy or that kind of stuff is more coming into it. That's more of a problem that I have. Her name is Tanya Newsom.
Tawny, yeah, Tawny something.
Tanya Newsom. New it's yeah Newsom a Newsom. She's really good as the pilot and her relationship, her interactions and stuff like that with which goes Wong is really good.
It, it's
Um,
it's chocked full of those little relationships. Like they did write it well enough to know that the power they were going to have were going to be in the characters' interpersonal relationships. So why did they have these kind of free radical moments of slapstick comedy? It smacks of boardroom interference to me. I cannot imagine somebody wrote this show so well and then didn't have the confidence just to follow through. I imagine there are plenty of studio notes that have, can we have a funny bit just there that I can read on a page and get? Because writers can see the funny when they're writing it, but people reading it, they have to be able to see the funny with the one liner or the he slips on a banana, or oh, it's funny because he's a social media manager and we've called him fuck Tony because his name's F
mhm.
Tony whatever.
Yeah, like yeah, it does. I think when we were talked about it originally, I said they've done enough in the sense that they've made me interested in a second season to see where they go, but I'm annoyed at it for the fact that it feels like to get away with the jokes and stuff like that that are good. It feels like they had to put in some jokes that they, as you said, the board. or the studio
Yeah.
wanted to kind of level things out, which I'm hoping to see less in less in season two, or that the writers just decide to take that stuff on themselves
And
and
maybe
kind of
tighten it
make
up.
yeah, like make it like it, as you said, it feels like someone came in and went, can you, like, they wrote the script and then someone came in and went, remove this part and I want a funny stupid thing with these two characters.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the interaction between John Malkovich's character and the one-star general who's acting as the PA, and Tony, that's really good
Yep.
because like that stuff is all really good and it feels like the writers took that on. But when it's essentially he comes in, like when
Yeah.
Tony comes in and the one-star general comes in alone, just hitting off each other, it feels like improv or some kind of weird after the thought writing.
And
So
again, I would happily say that it's not the actor's fault, because both those actors, both the guy playing the one-star general and Ben Schwartz, who they're both great. We know it's not lack of ability. The I should say this before I start picking on her. I like Lisa Kudrow. I like her a lot, and I think she does well. But I really was let down by the storyline that they ended up going with there, to make kind of very basic and cheap prison jokes in the middle of a show that was at times punching way above its weight on being socially clever and having some commentary. So, like, I'm hoping season two, they don't try and make that the whole separate subplot that it is, and maybe just move the hell away from it. And that's not because I don't want Lisa Kudrow. It's because I think that character was written into oblivion by being, crappy, easy one-liners about prison and conjugal visits.
yeah, no, I definitely agree there. I think it's yeah. You were talking about how the fact is that they've been hinting and hinting and hinting and hinting at the crime,
Oh
and
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
payoff, which
yeah.
is a
Well, they might use it as a get out of jail free, no pun intended, I guess. When they're hitting a story dead end, they might go, "Oh, we never actually said what our crime was. This'll help us because we couldn't write this week." I have more faith in that. Two things I want to get in really quickly before we end. The one reason that I have to give maximum respect to this show is it will forever be Fred Willard's final credit on IMDb. He played Steve Carell's dad. He died a week before
yeah.
launch, and he is an absolute legend. And I think we should take a little moment, doff our caps, and go, anything that was his last credit, we all deserve to watch and give him the time of day, because that man is
Yeah.
an absolute legend. But to move quickly on from that more somber tone to my favorite thing about it all, and it's so small, it's the heads of the various military branches. Patrick Warburton of Tick and Rules of Engagement, or whatever the show it was, the great man with the deep voice and the kind of thin look about him. He plays Army. Dietrich Bader
No, he
is
plays
Navy.
Marines. The Tick
Oh,
guy plays the Marines.
does
It's
who plays Army? Is it Dietrich Bader? Maybe.
sorry, I think so. Sorry,
Okay.
that's because sorry for disturbing your track. You go
You're,
on
you're
and
right.
I'll
Anyway,
figure
Jane
it out.
Lynch is there. You've got brilliant character actors who are all intensely funny. And anytime that room shows up, it's like, this is going to be hilarious. But it's also going to be a little bit better than funny, because there's a little hint towards, a mockery of what this is and what they are. And the kind of the Doctor Strangelove war room kind of mockery. But then there will be well, actually, these are people that you need to respect because they are behind some serious, serious things. And there's a moment, and again, no spoilers, but there's a moment where the villain of the piece is going off on one, kind of giving it a bit of, well, why don't we just do loads of terrible things? And you can see all of those individual heads of the military apparatus going, no, that's not what we're like. That's not what these armed forces are for. And I thought it was really, really nice that between making them the funniest, most charismatic, having the best banter between them, they didn't lose that kind of, we also want to give some respect to these people. So I high point for me. When I'm giving it my second watch through, I think there'll be a few pauses and rewatches of those short scenes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Bader's army and the guy who plays Tick is Marines. It's
There you
just the
go.
reason is because the Marines are always seen as gung ho, and in the last episodes there's literally just a few lines in it that just really shows Marines' heart and kind of their legacy of kind of where they come from. I do like the joke that everybody's complaining about Space Force, and then what is it?
Coast
The
Guard.
No, the
Oh,
aircraft, or sorry, Air Force are just like, we should own it. And then, like, the army are just like, the army just goes, well, both of you used to belong to us. So maybe you should just come back to us.
yeah.
Like,
We used to
and it's a
own
real
you.
kind of like, yeah, pretty much, which is very good. I also like, is it Jane Lynch?
Jane Lynch,
She's,
yeah.
yeah, chief of Navy operations. I really like her cold stone because she's the head of the Navy operations, and to get to that high office as a woman, she must have really shown her mettle in a kind of boys' club.
Oh, that's
And I,
implied with one or two lines, and really, really quickly,
yeah,
really succinctly, and really brilliantly. And that's where, if you can do all of your writing in one sentence and get a whole backstory across, you've done a good job. Put your pen down. You deserve a break. That was good. And she nails
yeah,
it as she always does.
it's perfect. Jane Lynch is really well in that. Like that room is fantastic, and like is does have some of my favorite points. So kudos to that writing as well.
So as we're hitting time, Paul, I know that we're both giving this the positive review. I'm probably giving it more of a positive review insofar as I'm willing to forgive the bad parts, even though I definitely agree with you and I recognize that there are a lot of them. But what I would like is, I think Brew has seen it. One of our commenters here who's being active. Thank you, Brew. Let us know what you think. I know you still have some to go, so that's why we were taking care on the spoilers. Just before we wrap up, I'd love your thumbs up or thumbs down on this. But Paul, so what's your Heroes Out rating in this one? Is it 17 cats out of 20?
Uh, I'm I'll go for the 10 out of 10 kind of normal thing. I'm gonna say so far it's a 6.
Oh,
Um, yeah, as I said, they've made me interested enough in a second season. I'm hoping that the parts that we were talking about the slapstickness and the kind of executive or studio stepped in to put in as well really annoyed me because it was crap around fantastic writing,
yeah.
and it was just so irritating to see. You know,
Well, I think then I will co-opt your conventional scale of to 10. Oh, such a drag, man. No,
it's because I
gonna,
can't do the maths. I
I,
can't do the maths that you've taught me.
well, I'm going to say that I think at times when this thing's cooking, it's an easy flat 10. It's perfect. But because it goes off the boil so regularly and intermittently, I'm going to give it a good 7 for now, with the potential for it to become a really good hard 9 if they can get a strong season 2. I can't see why this couldn't go on to be one of the better shows.
Mm.
But if it
Yeah,
goes the
I
other way,
yeah
I'll stop watching.
yeah. No, I definitely agree with your thing. As in, there are times which I definitely agree that it is a 10, but the other parts drag it down so much
Yeah.
that I have to give it a 6. And we'll see what season 2.
Yeah, I think so. We're both in agreement, and if you tot up our scores, I think it's 13 out of 20. Now, look at me doing math just because I know what both of those numbers are. We got Brew's reply. Overall, it's okay, hit and miss. So it seems to be a consensus. Anybody watching this in the future, please jump down to the comments down below. Would love to know if you loved it or hated it. What let you down if you hated it, or what built it up if you loved it. And on that note, Paul, do you want to walk us out of here?
Well, thank you very much for everything. Which is I've been Paul.
And I've been Patrick.
That's what you meant, right?
Oh yes, that's
is there
exactly
anything
what
else
I
to
meant.
walk out with?
Yes. And together,
This
what
is
have we been?
We've been Heroes Out. This is the behind the scenes part where we completely forget to do the kind of like when do we finish?
Scroll back to the start of this video if you really want to see clownology. But hopefully in the future, it'll all be edited out. All right. And with the magic of the edit, bye.
Bye, guys.